So Dr. Edwards, first tell our high school students what kind of things agronomists and soil scientists do and how they work with farmers and the industry.
Well, it's a very broad career. Those who graduate with a degree in plant and soil sciences can take many different avenues. But typically what our graduates will do, they'll go into a few different paths. One path would be helping people grow better crops or more abundant crops. And that can take a few different directions. They could go into plant breeding or some sort of biotechnology, where maybe they're doing things with crossing different plants to make a variety or a hybrid available to the farmer that is resistant to a disease or that requires fewer pesticides because it's resistant to either a disease or an insect pest or something like that. So that's one avenue. Another avenue would be those who actually advise our farmers and those who produce crops directly. Mm-hmm. So they might be either out in the field scouting and advising the farmers in terms of what types of issues they're encountering and how to correct those issues in the field in terms of a pest or fertility. They may work in ag retail, where they're actually helping run a business that supplies inputs to agricultural producers, and they may go into sales, where they're actually out interacting with those agricultural producers and making recommendations to them and helping represent a company. And it may be a large multinational company like a Dow or DuPont, or it could be a smaller regional company or a cooperative. And I guess the other area that our graduates would go into if they're interested in growing more and better crops would be humanitarian assistance. And this is something that's kind of new to our discipline. I guess it's new that high school students might consider majoring in plant and soil sciences to do this type of work. It's been a real shift over the last 10 or 15 years. And we're getting more and more students that don't come from a farming background in general. And many of these students are interested in doing some sort of humanitarian assistance, either in the United States, maybe helping someone get an urban gardening project going, or overseas. Mm-hmm. And it's a really good career for someone who's interested in doing those types of things. So that's one avenue. We also have, as the name would imply, we have plant and soil sciences, what used to be called agronomy, which would kind of be a blend of those two disciplines. But we also have several students that really focus on the soils side of things. And really what we're doing there is trying to protect our soil resources of the nation. So they may go to work for a government agency such as the Natural Resources Conservation Service or NRCS, going out and helping protect the soil by advising farmers, making them aware of government programs where they can put best management practices in place. We also have a lot of our soils majors who will go into maybe the oil and gas industry or some other environmental quality type of industry, where they're actually looking at measuring whether or not soils are being contaminated. If they are contaminated, how to get rid of those contaminants or how to prevent it in the first place. And again, that can go in Oklahoma. The oil and gas industry is a very common way, but it can also go, we have a major emphasis in our extension program here looking at installation of septic systems. 4 out of 10 Oklahomans use a septic system rather than being connected to a municipal sewer system. So that's a growing area as well. So it's very, very diverse, very broad.
So when you're talking to students or you're talking to people that have had careers in this, should they be people-oriented? It sounds like they should be, and that they've really got to enjoy interacting with people.
Yeah. If you choose one of the paths we talked about, working ag retail or maybe being a crop consultant, you need to be a people person. generally, our careers on the more agronomy or soil side, you need to like being outside.
Mm-hmm.
You're outdoors a lot, and if you enjoy that, it's a good path. We do get a few introverts. I'm an introvert by training, and if you're someone who that's who you are, and that's fine. That you're more interested in just kind of doing your work. You want to be left alone. Going more the plant breeding or the biotechnology route fits very well for those people, especially the biotechnology route. A lot of times you're in a lab and you have lab groups that you work with, but a lot of the work is individualized.
So what kind of courses do you take in college to prepare yourself to be an agronomist or a soil scientist?
So we would have a lot of the same gen ed courses as any major, your English, history, those types of things. Usually our students will take a couple of chemistry courses, depending on which path you're going to pursue. There will be some chemistry in there. There will be some math. Not as much as an engineer, but more than an English major. So somewhere in between there. Our students who want to pursue more of an ag business option, of course, would take some ag econ and general econ courses. And then, depending on which path you choose, there would be just courses in crop production, courses in soil management. And I would say just kind of a generalization of the courses our students would take. Many of them are hands-on. So you're learning a concept in the classroom, and then later on that week in the lab section for that course, you're either in a lab here on campus seeing how those principles apply, or in many cases you may be just down the road here at the university farm, out in the field, figuring out how to apply those principles. A great example that comes to mind, because one of our instructors just tweeted some pictures of our students out calibrating a planter. So they talked about why we worry about how many seeds per acre we're planting, and why it's important to know that, and why to calibrate. Go through some math on how you would calculate that. And then later on that same week, our students are out in the field, and actually someone's operating a planter, and they're helping to change the settings on that planter to deliver the desired number of seeds per acre. And I might add that the planter, is equipped to a tractor that has GPS guidance that steers itself. So it's really neat to see some of the high-tech stuff that's coming in, and you still have to know the basic principles.
It's amazing. You got autonomous driving on farm equipment all before you even get in an automobile.
Absolutely, and we're just at the tip of the iceberg.
When somebody that has an interest in agronomy or soil sciences when they're in high school thinks they want to learn more about it, are there any ways that they can get involved in programs in high school where they can talk to people that are involved in the industry?
Absolutely. One way, and the more traditional way, would be to get involved in ag education at the high school. Most of our high schools in Oklahoma offer some sort of an ag education curriculum, and they could get involved in FFA along that route, and that's a great route, but that's not the only route. They could get involved through their local cooperative extension office. Every county in Oklahoma, all 77 counties, have a cooperative extension office, and they either have an agriculture agent or a 4-H agent or a family and consumer sciences educator, or some combination thereof, and most counties have a 4-H program. So that's a way to get involved even well before high school. And the other way would be just to get involved in sciences in general. Regardless of what path you're wanting to pursue, there's generally a way to tie it to agriculture. I remember as a high school student, I really enjoyed physics. Well, soil physics is a major area in agriculture. looking at the soil and how it gets compacted or how water infiltrates to the soil. Soil chemistry would be another example. If you're a student who really enjoys chemistry, but you're trying to think of a way, how could I apply this to real world problems? Agriculture is a great way to do that. Our soil chemists figure out what nutrients that we need in the soil, how to deliver those nutrients. They figure out how applying different soil amendments will affect the availability of those nutrients. So most science-based curriculum or most science-based concepts you can apply to agriculture somehow. And if you're curious on how to do that, again, you've got the Cooperative Extension Service. You also have advisors at your high school, or just contact the Plant and Soil Sciences department here at Oklahoma State or at any land-grant university. I think what high school students will find is that our faculty, right up to the department head, to the dean, are very personable, and they're interested in helping people pursue careers in our industry.
Are there scholarships and financial aid available to kids that want to pursue this? I mean, you're in a major university. I know you have different financial aid programs and endowments, but are enough of them really directed at ag careers that you have a substantially good chance of receiving some kind of scholarship or financial aid if you apply?
It varies by institution, but by and large, if you pursue a career in agriculture, you stand a pretty good shot of getting some sort of a scholarship or financial aid. Within the College of Ag at OSU this year, we are going to be right at about $1.6 million in total awards for the coming academic year.
That's great.
Within our department, we are actually very fortunate that we have a lot of scholarships available. Our alumni have been very supportive, and our department alone will award a little over $200,000 for the next academic year, and about the vast majority of that is targeted towards undergraduate students. So we have around 75, 80 undergraduates in our department. We're awarding, almost $200,000 in scholarships. Your chances are pretty good.
That's great. Now, if somebody gets an undergraduate degree, I assume that's a 4-year degree in most cases.
Yeah, it's typically a 4-year degree. We have a curriculum laid out where any of our options, you can complete that degree in 4 years.
4 years. To advance in your career, though, do you need to have some sort of a graduate degree? Does getting a master's, does that make a significant difference in how you can advance in this particular industry?
It does. It's not essential.
Okay.
To have a master's. You can go out with a bachelor's in agronomy, and if you're someone who can relate to people, you can do very well, depending on whether or not you're willing to relocate. Our undergraduates will typically, the salary range after completing your degree will be 35 to 45 or 50,000 would be pretty typical. Now, some, especially if you go into sales or are very capable, some people will move up very quickly, and it's not uncommon for someone to be anywhere from 60 to 80,000, or maybe some pulling down 6 figures within a few years. Having a master's in agriculture does give you an advantage in that your base salary is higher. Typically, our kids coming out with a master's, that's going to be 50 to 70,000, and you can move up fairly quickly.
Well, that's comparable to what somebody with an MBA would get, basically. Yeah. So it's very competitive, it sounds like, on a salary basis.
It is. Not as many people have gone into plant and soil sciences, and as a result, especially whenever we have upswings in the agricultural industry, Many of our employers are having difficulty filling
Mm-hmm.
positions, and it's a very good market.
And we had, one of the reasons I wanted to contact you was because there were a lot of employers that had contacted the schools in Tulsa County and were asking them to try to encourage kids to look at this career because they were having trouble attracting graduates. Apparently there's not a lot graduating compared to the jobs that are available. So.
There aren't, and especially if you're willing to relocate, great opportunities.
What we're going to have, YPNG, one of the things we want to do is we're going to have question and answer sessions in the video classrooms where they can interact with people and talk to different people. So I'm going to try to schedule that probably in the next 3-4 months. So if you have some people that you think would be willing to get involved with us, I'm sure we're going to have plenty of kids that'll have questions after your interview, and we can continue with this to where you can relate and interact with them on a regular basis.
Sure,
I think that would be great.
Absolutely.
Well, I think what we've learned today is that there's a lot of career opportunities for kids in agriculture in Oklahoma, and it's something that a lot of kids don't look at because there's a lot of demand and not enough people applying, which is a big difference from a lot of the other career categories that you can look at in college. So I encourage all of you to listen to what we've talked about today and what Dr. Edwards has mentioned about his department, and we will be putting up and posting some question and answer sessions, and you can sign up for our newsletters and see at what times those will be posted. Well, thank you very much, Doctor. I appreciate
It's been a
you being
pleasure.
with us.